Welcome to the 38th episode of Hachi's Tours. Today's video will show why I opted to use the side nut in changing the oil rather than using the center nut underneath the oil pan. Please keep on watching. Dear friends, please don't forget to click like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you will always be updated every time I put up a new video.
Good day, my dear friends, and thank you very much for those who watched and viewed my episode 37. And I was able to receive numerous messages about the way I did the change oil using the side of the engine as its oil drainage and removing its nut as its oil pin. So today I'm going to demonstrate how did I come about the procedure of opening the sides of the engine to change the oil. Actually, it was also recommended by the Rusi chief mechanic to where I purchased this Rusi motorcycle unit. Well, I had my first 500 kilometer change oil through the casa, and what they did is they opened this nut. You can see my fingers inside the oil pin nut so that the oil will drain. But the problem is there are so many bars blocking its way if we are going to use this wrench underneath. You cannot fit exactly, and so what they did is they use this close wrench moving this way in this particular view. But doing this, you need to remove this plastic flaring through the Allen key. This nut, you have to remove this one, plus this Allen key nut here, plus the one underneath. So there are 3 Allen key nuts that you need to remove before you can see the clear view of the nut. But then there are still bars blocking its way. You can see this bar plus the exhaust pipe. So there are still 2 bars. So what they did is they used the close wrench moving this way, something like that. But this is not perfectly fit, as sometimes it is breaking in the nut, something like that. So what happened, the edges of this hexagonal nut somehow is smoothing the surface. So I'm trying to avoid that, and I don't want to be removing this plastic flaring with these acrylic plastics, and sooner as time comes, this is very brittle, it will break. So I just put some rubber bushing so that it will not break as I tighten the nut. So that's why I prefer to use the side opening of the oil to keep this flaring intact, plus the fact that the hexagonal nut will still remain its sharp edges. So now let's go to the underneath view of these nuts so that we can see both of them clearly. So let's go down to the actual view of the nut underneath the engine. So this is the particular nut that we are talking about that we need to drain, but the problem is this is an exhaust pipe blocking its way. So as I explained, it cannot fit in exactly this wrench so that you can turn and twist it up for loosening and tightening. So it's moving somewhere here. So what I did is I used the side nut, this one, and this is the nut, and this is the side nut that I use to drain the oil with a clear view on the side somewhere here. So I'm not removing anything. I did not remove any plastic flaring. I just turn it counterclockwise and clockwise for loosening and tightening and drain the oil. So in this way, this is very comfortable to do and very easy. The only thing is that you have to be very careful to fit in the nut slowly. As I told, just use your bare hand for the meantime on tightening it to avoid its lost thread, plus there are some oil seal inside. Fit in correctly so that it will keep the oil inside the engine and to avoid any leaking. But then you can see the position of the nut here plus this side. They told that it will not totally drain the oil using the side nut. That is correct. But then there are some only minimal oil content that will be left over, somewhere about 10 milliliter, the size and the thickness of the nut only. So 10 milliliter is negligible compared to the total oil volume of 1200 milliliter. So I use this side portion so that I can drain the oil easily and comfortably without sacrificing the usual removal of the flarings and some sidings and Allen keys. And so, showing the manual of our Rusi Gamma motorcycle, I purchased this last January 16, 2019 at around 9 a.m. in the morning, and I strictly followed the manual on how to maintain and break in the Gamma. And my record of change oils is only about 4 times since it was moved out, since there is a pandemic COVID-19 lockdown, so I cannot move around anywhere I wish to. So the first change oil is February 5, the first 500 using the Rusi in-house engine oil, and then the second change oil is March 10 for about 820 kilometers, 20 W50, the same Rusi engine oil. And then I noticed that the viscosity is not that good for the engine, as I can hear so many extra sounds. So I tried to replace it with a better branded one, and I found Repsol used by Marc Marquez in the Grand Motor Grand Prix. And last June 11, since I just seldom use it because of the lockdown, about 1,320 kilometers, I switched to Repsol 20 W50. So this is the time that the side nut was used by the chief mechanic during the change oil process, in which I followed, and I'm very happy that it will not be removing any flarings that will sooner be broken, as those plastics are very brittle. And then the last time, as I do it myself, November 26, maybe about 5 days ago, at 3,980 reading, I replaced it with Repsol 20 W50, and incidentally, the amount of oil that can fit in inside the engine is 1,200 milliliters or 1.2 liters, but you can only buy 1 liter or 1,000 milliliter. So you need to buy 2 liters so that you can have a spare one that you add 200 milliliter every change oil. So the other one, the second bottle of Repsol, is used sparingly, that can be used to add 200 milliliters. So it can be used for 5 oil changes. So this time, I'm comfortably using Repsol 20 W50. It keeps the engine quiet. The heat is not that much. I can no longer feel the heat radiating to my legs, unlike before when I am using the original Rusi in-house engine oil, that it's too hot underneath. I was thinking that the engine somehow is very close or overheating by itself, but now it's very cool, and
The sound is quiet. The acceleration is very responsive. I love the oil, and I love the sound as it is music to my ears.